Fit like MD, Danny Boy here, and welcome back to another episode of Transport Fever 2 on the UK map. We're down here at London King's Cross in all its glory. We're about to jump on this LNER service from London King's Cross to Aberdeen, because today is going to be a drive-by episode. We'll jump on this while running it all the way. We've added some more traffic to the sort of main line that this train follows, so it should look pretty interesting. We've also got a ton of traffic on... I had a feeling it was going to do that because it did that previously. Yeah, so we've got a ton of traffic on the west coast as well. We'll be jumping on a mainline train to there. There's one of the Hull trains actually arriving right now. That is very nice. And then we'll be heading up to Aberdeen. There is one line I actually forgot to do in the previous episode, and that was Leeds to Doncaster. I was supposed to throw a train on there, and I actually forgot. But hey ho. If there's time, we'll maybe jump on a third train. Maybe something like Newcastle to Manchester might be interesting, or we'll have a look. We've still got lots and lots of lines to add to this map. So there will be more heavy traffic. We'll be able to run down the south coast, maybe do some routes in Wales and future drive-bys, etc. Or maybe even jump on a plane. Perhaps maybe something like a Concord, heading from London Heathrow to JFK. Even though it's 2020 and Concord is no longer a thing, we've actually got one on the map, because why the hell not? It is actually the fastest thing on the map as well. So it'll be interesting to see how it gets on. But here we are. First stop is Peterborough, and it's obviously the train is only trickled up to about 60 miles per hour. It's not really a huge long distance between Peterborough and London there. It's just the way the sort of map is compressed to get everything in. There is a plane over there. I don't know what it is. It's a Concord circling. It looks like there's a few aircraft that are circling. Now, there were comments to maybe add another airport in London and maybe do like the sort of UK regional flights, come out with that one, and the sort of international ones just leave from London. I might do that. It seems like a good idea. But there we go. There's that other Hull train breezing past. He doesn't have to stop at Peterborough, so he can just go. We are taking a long time to load up people here. There are 73 people on board. Park them in there. Station master or train conductor, whoever's in charge of getting passengers off and on the train. Right, so there should be lots of other LNER trains on here. I will state now that the 225s do look a bit rough. So some trains don't really age or get dirty at all. They just stay in pristine condition. That's the way the modder has made the model. And some of them do deteriorate over time. And I can say that the Class 225s, whether it's at Intercity, the Great North Eastern Railways, East Coast, London, North Eastern Railways, they do get very dirty over time. They look well used. If there was a really cool train mod, a train wash mod, I would absolutely be sending them in there. I did notice that on the Transport Fever Facebook page, someone did say that they didn't really like this the sort of upgrading of trains here. There was no need anymore to send them a depot to be replaced or waiting for them to get to a station. You could just upgrade it and the passengers would stay on board, which in their point wasn't very realistic. I suppose you could, if you wanted, wait for passengers to jump on off at a station and then force the train to go to a depot and then replace it there, if you were playing a sort of more realistic approach. Now, I've just realised something, that this entire section has been made with track that has no catenary. So after this episode is finished, I'm going to go back and upgrade that. I have had 1 or 2 crashes as well, random crashes, but not ones. Normally when Transport Fever crashes, it gives you a failure, like file directory, blah blah blah. It sort of gives you the file that caused the crash. You can sort of surmise by looking at the file which mod it's actually come from. But this has crashed twice recently, and I thought it was because of the airport mod, the off-world one. I did check all the planes. It took ages. It took almost about an hour and 45 minutes to jump on all the planes and then watch them to see which one was maybe causing the crash, but it doesn't seem to be that, and it doesn't give me a file error, so I'm not sure if the game. I did surmise that one of them, Windows, is doing an update, which is really annoying because I recently set Windows updates to notify me, and I've only set it to search like once every month, and this was not the time of the month where it was supposed to search for Windows updates. They're really obnoxious and annoying, Windows updates. So I do it on my own, but this one got forced on the computer automatically, which was super annoying. So that caused one of the crashes. I wasn't sure if it maybe caused the second one, because again, there was the game didn't freeze or anything, it just went off. Like I'd closed down the game myself with no errors. So it's kind of weird. I've been trying to do a bit of fishing and investigation to find out why that is, but yeah, Windows upgrades have now been, or updates have now been turned off completely, so the computer will never get another Windows update unless I allow it to. So that's something that I've always done, and I've always sort of recommended to like friends and stuff, because it's really annoying. At the end of the night, I don't switch my computer off, I don't shut it down, I just send it into sleep mode, because switching your computer on and off constantly, every day, maybe several times a day, ain't really that good for it. So I always just set it to sleep mode, just tap a button on the keyboard, which comes back to life. And then, but if a Windows update pops up while the computer is in sleep mode, the computer will switch itself on. It'll do the update and the restarts, but then it will remain on if you're not in the house or if you're asleep or something. Then the computer will stay on overnight or until you get home and find out that it is actually on. And it's super annoying, so that's why I normally switch them off. But I don't know how this one, this morning, managed to actually try and update it. Maybe because it was long overdue, but it was super annoying. I did upgrade some the GeForce NVIDIA drivers. I don't know if these driver updates are really going to be helpful for me. They seem like it's more stuff for 2080, 3080, 2070, more for new gen tech. My 1080 Ti is old school now, although it is one of the most used GPUs if you check the Steam surveys. So I often get the notification Steam would like to do a survey and use your system requirements for their sort of analytics, and by all means go ahead if it helps. But yeah, 1080 is still pretty decent. Still a lot of people using it. Obviously, I've not had any new luck on the hunt for the elusive 3080 GPU. A friend of mine did actually phone me last night, like 2 in the morning. I was like, "What? Why are you calling?" And he was like, "Oh, Amazon have got PS5s on sale." And I was like, and then he turned around and was like, "Oh, they're all gone." He was like, within 30 seconds they were obliterated. I was like, "Oh, okay. Can I go back to sleep now?" And he was like, "Yes, sorry." So yeah, new stuff is sort of hard to come by. I did actually, as I said in a previous video, I did give my AMD Ryzen 5900X to a friend because his one died and he was waiting on a replacement, and he actually texted me a couple of days ago and says that the replacement is on its way and then he was going to give it to me, and I was like, that's That's strange. So there is stock obviously set aside for replacement CPUs, which people have already bought, but no stock for people who actually want to buy a new one. I mean, I suppose AMD, Intel, etc. do have obligations if their products fail to replace them. But it seems sort of weird that maybe part of the stock issue is that several batches of CPUs are being held behind for failures, which is not really a good sign, because it would mean that they are probably expecting a lot of them to fail. I have seen that there's one of those 225s that's extremely, it's been through the that 225 has been through the fields. So this one is branching off onto this track. Is that something I currently want you to do? I think it actually is. But yeah, so I'm going to get a replacement CPU, which is fine. I'm just not going to have the 3080, so can't finish off the new system build. It was super annoying as well, because I'd already built the system up with the CPU in it, and I did post it, post the computer without a GPU. So when I gave it to my friend, he's like, is this used? And I was like, yes, it did have thermal paste on it at some point. I have used cleaning alcohol to scrub it clean. And it was like, oh, I only used it to make sure that it posted. So that's one thing you always need to do, is check that your computer posts once you've built it. I'm not a computer building expert, but I have built a few now, so we're sort of all good in that department. So I know when I get the new one, I can just fire it straight back in, stick the cooler header back in, and then just wait patiently for that elusive 3080 that may never come. So I'll always keep an eye out though, because I really want to ramp up stuff in the channel. But once the new system is up and running, I'd love to play games at 2K, 4K, post them onto the YouTubes, but right now with the current system it's just not possible. And I'm also doing this as well, so we had to, like, this series, which is basically a continuation of the Transport Fever UK series that we were doing previously. We did it up to Steam. There were so many trains and vehicles, the cities were so large that the game, or my system, couldn't run the game anymore. It was just crashing constantly. It was a disaster. So we restarted and then built the map from scratch using diesel and electric trains. Unfortunately, that got to the point also where the system couldn't handle it, and it was just crashing constantly. It was an absolute nightmare. And now we've got this one. Now the Vulcan update did come. It seems to be running smoother. I was going to try the older saves, the one with the steam, because I still have it, and the one with the diesel and electric trains, to see if that made any difference. So I'll maybe try that. Although some of the mods that I used are now no longer in circulation. So we do have that when you load up Transport Fever and there's a mod missing, you get the exclamation mark, and you have to sort of hunt down the mod to see which one is missing, and then pray whoever it is you pray to that it's not something that you've used. Because often if it's not something you've used, you're fine, but if it is something that's rolling or flying or sailing around the map, the game will be like, no, how can I load this game? This vehicle you have running between A and B doesn't actually exist, and I can't put that into the save game because it's no longer a thing. So we've been pretty lucky with mods so far, so far so good. But here we are at Berwick upon Tweed. We're now heading for Edinburgh. So yeah, we'll be continuing on this series. This was going to be the Transport Fever NIMBY Rails series. It still kind of is. I still build out the tracks in NIMBY Rails and then add the trains in Transport Fever in their 3D glory. There were a few people who just wanted to watch NIMBY Rails. There were a few people who just wanted to watch Transport Fever. The problem I stopped, or the reason I stopped doing the NIMBY Rails, was because I learned very quickly that longer routes that I had to build took several hours, especially when following it in Google Maps. Now, it's quite simple in Google Maps. If you can see where the train cuts through forest, cuts through cities, etc., when it gets into sort of marshy farmland where there's no landmarks or roads or anything, the train line sort of disappears, and you have to follow it really closely and try and look for any landmarks and see where the train might actually pass through or where the tracks might be. And it takes a very long time. It actually takes several hours. There's no way I could compress that down into a half an hour episode. The Inverness up to excuse me, the Inverness up to Wick route took about 4 hours alone, because it was super difficult. Because up in the Highlands where there's mountains and stuff, there ain't many villages or roads or landmarks. Then the train just sort of passes through no man's land, and it was super difficult to actually find out where the hell those train tracks were supposed to be in NIMBY Rails relative to where they were in real life. And it took about 3.5, maybe 4 hours just to build that line. Now, I actually started that NIMBY Rails episode building out of Inverness, and then I started building it from the Wick side, and then I realised this is taking way too long. No one's going to sit here for 4 hours and watch me just simply build and track. A lot of people found the track building in NIMBY Rails really boring. I can understand that, because there ain't much to look at. I mean, it's a great game. The building is addictive. There's tons you can do with it. You can build the real life routes. You can make up routes of your own and have a train simply go as the crow flies. Someone did mention that I should build new routes, ones that don't exist, or maybe improve on existing routes. But there's no punishment for... You could simply make it just straight lines. You could go on a straight line from Newcastle down to London. You could go on a straight line from Penzance to Reading. It would just be... You'd need the creativity, or sort of know what is around the landscape in real life to say, well, maybe we could have the train go through this valley. There's no height map or nothing. There's no contour lines. There's nothing to sort of stop you from putting a train anywhere you want. And if you're not very creative or know the landscape or the area, then it's just... I would imagine you would just build as the crow flies lines, which would be super efficient. And if you were playing with the money on, which is extremely hard to do, or I found it very hard to do, to actually make money. There is that time between, I think it's like 12 at night and like 4 in the morning, where there's like no people use the train at all. And then, yeah, it would be really easy. It would be much easier anyway to make money rather than do the real life routes. You could actually type in what the real life train schedule actually is. And now that there's mods, you could actually probably have the real life trains that run on those routes. But yeah, a lot of people weren't really interested in the building in NIMBY Rails, so that's why I cut it down to I build the track offline. I add some trains, we sort of go through the route, talk about some of the towns and cities that the train passes through, and then we build it in here, which obviously is on a much smaller scale, so we don't have a lot of the towns and cities that the train actually passes through, which is a shame. So that there's not really much we can do about that. If you had the ultimate system, maybe if you had a future tech system from like 20 years in the future, you could maybe then build an entire sort of country map with every town and city in it and run trains back and forth, using, as I said the other day, that someone posted a comment saying that they had expanded their map size beyond megalomaniac size map. They'd went into the game files and extended it, which I suppose is not beyond the realms of impossibility. Obviously the game developers make the map sizes, And the reason that the experimental map sizes are experimental is because they know, as well as we know, that if you're going to have a bigger map, it's more for your system to sort of chew through. You're probably going to have more towns and cities, you're probably going to have a lot more routes. Therefore, it's probably classed as experimental, because when they've been running it, it's like, whoa, even with the best system on the planet right now, here's the sort of performance we can get. And I was actually talking to a friend, he watched this video and then he contacted me and he was like, here is how you increase the map size beyond. And I was like, well, I'm not going to do that, because as he also said, it's the same thing I was saying. He expanded the map. He did an America and Canada map, all in one, in a huge scale. And then he says, it's like you said, all he did was add lots and lots of extra towns and cities to the map. And very quickly, even like very early game, the game started to become unplayable, because there were so much cities and the sort of AI civilians and stuff for the game to sort of try and chew through, that it was a nightmare. So he was saying that's probably why they don't advertise or give you the option to expand beyond experimental size. And they've probably classed experimental size as experimental because unless you've got a really high powered system that can run it, it's probably not going to do you any good. So I was like, well, I won't touch that then, because I'll get carried away just like he did. I'll end up adding too much cities, too much towns. The game will become unplayable very early on. I mean, he was saying that he got rid of, there's no trees on his map at all. None. Nada. And I was like, but then it's this barren green, a constant sea of green for as far as the eye can see. And he was like, yeah, it's extremely boring to sort of look at. And I was like, oh no, we must have trees. So trees break up the landscape. Look at that beautiful palm tree right there. Excellent. And the oil rigs in the distance. Magical. But yeah, so I'm not going to touch the beyond experimental map sizes. He didn't actually explain to me how he came across it. He did say that he was given the sort of tips or the know-how by someone else. He didn't actually find it out himself, which I sort of expected, because he is one of those people that loves to go into game files and all other games to change the experience. So I don't do that. Setting experimental maps to on is as far as I am willing to go. So yeah, we're not going to touch that. We're going to leave that alone. So I was thinking about maybe doing it with the new system, but even then, the tech he runs is pretty new, it's pretty good, it's probably the best money they can buy, and he was still saying, I was like, no, the game just hates it. So it is something you can do, it's not something I would probably recommend. But yep, here we are coming into Aberdeen. There's a Total truck on the left, there is the intercity train that is going to Glasgow. It itself is starting to look a bit worse for wear. And there's a Soldier Line ferry on the right hand side. There is a ferry that goes between Aberdeen up to, is it Lerwick? Up in Shetland? Or is it up to Orkney? I can't remember. It's not as big as that one on the right hand side, but it does exist. We've never had really any sort of P&O ferry mods. The only sort of one we've had is that ferry there, which can be used as an actual vehicle, or it can be just placed as an asset. We've got it placed as an asset to sort of break up the scenery a bit. There's a little ScotRail Sprinter pulling in there at the far side. But we have arrived here in Aberdeen. We sort of covered everything about, well, Transport Fever and the new system. and why we're not going to be expanding the borders of the map beyond experimental. So there we go, we have arrived here. It's time to jump on another train. What are we actually going to jump on? I think something perhaps maybe like Glasgow to Manchester would be a nice little route on the Avanti west coast. I don't know if there's going to be one here. We might just have to cut the recording and wait. Where is Glasgow, man? Glasgow Central's there. Right, there's nothing in here. So let's find out. Glasgow to London Euston. Now we could go Glasgow to London Euston from Edinburgh. That is a thing we could do as well. If I can reach Edinburgh station from here. Edinburgh, London Euston. Now one of these goes through Birmingham and the other one does not. This one goes through Birmingham. I'd kind of like to bypass Birmingham and go through Crewe. And the only way we can sort of do that is go this way. So where are you, face mask train? You're at London Euston right now. So we'll jump on you. You're actually in here. Hello. Safe travels. Wear a face covering. Very appropriate for this time. Right, so we'll hit tab there. Let the game run on. Does tab work from pause game? It does. Okay, so you spun round and then you stopped. Because you're waiting for other trains to pass. I see a Chiltern train heading down. We've got no signals. But I think once this train out here clears, we should be pretty good. However, one thing I've noticed as well is that there are less of those Matrix people walking about, and everyone is in proper sort of year 2000 plus attire. None of that stuff. Oh look, London Heathrow, where there is United, and it looks like I don't know what that other plane was. Is there anything in the sky? There's a few Concords sort of flying in circles, probably just waiting to land. Yeah, I don't know where that one above us is actually going. I think it's just in holding. I thought that was maybe why we were getting the game crashes. Too many planes try to land at London. But I did sort of look, and they don't really. There's a Chiltern Railways train there. I did sort of look, and they don't really get stuck outside London. Obviously these two here above us, I don't know what they are. One's obviously Concord from JFK, the other one is unknown. Perhaps the flight that comes from Ireland. But yeah, they don't really queue outside London. They tend to queue at the off-world airports. They seem to fly in circles off the map. And I was wondering why that might have been causing the crashes, but it doesn't seem like it is. Because I've not changed any of the aircraft and the game is running fine now. So I think it was something on my system that was causing the game to just sort of switch itself off suddenly. But yeah, here we go. This should be a nice fast section. It would have been previously. We have since added more sort of branch off lines and things for other trains, so that might slow it down somewhat, but we're cruising through here at 115 miles per hour, which is nice. That's good. No sign of that cross country train that goes to Manchester. That line to the right, yeah, this one bypasses Birmingham. We should maybe go through Birmingham. I think we'd see more trains, because there's nothing on this section until we hit that West Midlands train that goes from Birmingham to Liverpool, which we probably will see. I was having mega issues with that train though. It seemed to like to jump its platform quite a lot of times over at Crewe. I think that's because we were messing with the station and the lines. It's one thing I'd love to be added in the game, is in Transport Fever 1, you could lock the train to a platform. There was the ability to do that. There was a little padlock. You went into the line management system, there was a padlock. There's the West Midlands train there. But there was a padlock and you could click on it and it would stay glued to that platform. No matter what you did, station configuration, line configuration, it would be, right, this train is assigned to platform 4, it is locked, it can't move, no matter whether the station is made smaller or bigger. Unless you did something like delete that platform from existence, it would always stay glued to that platform. If you amended the line, managed the line, and maybe changed its platform further on, or further up or down on a different station, it wouldn't matter, it would stay locked to that platform. But we can't do this in Transport Fever 2, and it's super annoying. So when you configure a station or manage the train's line, it does, the game sort of tries to do what it thinks is best, which is obviously wrong, which is great because it means you are smarter than AI is, so that's always a nice feeling. But yeah, it often tries to do what it thinks is best, and it's often wrong. It will put trains heading down the track on the wrong side. It will throw them over to platforms that cause chaos for other trains. It will maybe have the train cross several lines and then have trains waiting at signals forevermore, waiting for that to pass. You've maybe not signalled up a section, and then because you've not signalled up a section that it's now running on, it causes chaos. So I would like it not to do that. I'd love that feature to be added back into the game, where we could just assign a platform and that's it. The train does not jump to another platform, regardless what is done at the line and or the station, and it just stays there. Because reworking Manchester Station, even though we deleted most of it, caused absolute chaos. And then I've noticed that even lines that were nowhere near Manchester or don't even go through it were affected by it as well. And it was such a strange thing that a train that has no interaction with that station would then become screwed up because you've changed it. That shouldn't be a thing, in my opinion. I don't know why it's a thing. It's extremely strange. But yeah, trains that had no interaction with Manchester Station became screwed up because I altered it. And it was really weird. I think it's because other trains were affected by it and it had a knock-on effect on other lines and services. And I found that to be incredibly strange. I don't know why that is a thing and why it would be a thing, but it is something I've discovered. I've seen other people on the forums as well complaining about that. They've altered a line somewhere and then a train that is on the other side of the map has become affected by it. It's strange. It might be a modded thing, it might not happen in the vanilla version of the game. It's maybe not a thing that happens to everyone, but it's definitely something that I have noticed. And it just begs the question, why? Why, game? Why is this a thing? Why do you hate me so much? So, I mean, even before, right? Oh, there's something, yeah, that Class 92 mod has got something odd going on with it. Where it's got this purple light sort of shining through. It's like the collision box for the train is sort of popped through it. It's kind of weird. It is livable. I've not removed it because I really like that train. It's very nicely detailed. It's very well done. It only seems to happen on that TransPennine service. It doesn't seem to be happening on the ScotRail Class 92 that we've also got running. So it's kind of weird. But yeah, so the LNER from Aberdeen to the Class 43 to London King's Cross, before I actually jumped into this game, I actually jumped on it because I was waiting for it to either arrive at London King's Cross or Aberdeen to start the episode. And when I jumped on it, I noticed that because I'm messing with the station at York and the station at Doncaster, for some reason the train had stayed on its current route, but up at Newcastle it had changed to go in on platform 2 on the way south and back in platform 2 on the way north. Now I actually noticed that. I thought, what? I loaded up the previous save where I hadn't done any of the lines from Hull or the lines to Leeds, etc. Basically the stuff we did in the last episode, and it was running fine. So I did a little experiment. I rebuilt the stations the same I had done in the last episode. So I built up York Station for the new lines, I built up Leeds Station, I built up Doncaster Station to account for the new Hull trains that were passing through, and it didn't affect the train in any way apart from at Newcastle it swapped its line on to instead of coming down on line 1 and then going up on line 2 or platform 1 and platform 2, it just made them both, and I was like, why? That's a prime example, and I wish I'd actually been recording to sort of show people. It's like Newcastle Station should still be the same. It's not been touched, but because I've messed with it was when I messed with Doncaster Station, it then swapped it on to come up and go north and south and pick up passengers on platform 2, and I was extremely baffled. I was vexed, terribly vexed by this. I was like, why? Newcastle Station has got nothing to do. If anything, I thought it would screw up the service at York or maybe further down at Peterborough, but it didn't. It was Newcastle Station, and for some reason it threw the train onto one sort of platform. And now once this train arrives at Glasgow, I'll show you exactly what happened. And I only just found it out by chance. I would have found it out eventually because it really screwed up the class 225s and the other LNER services that are going from Edinburgh. But we have arrived here in Glasgow, and we'll come out here, right? We were actually at 3 times speed there. But yeah, I'll show you guys exactly what happened. So we'll pop over to Newcastle. So I jumped on the train as it was leaving York because I was waiting for it. I was going to start the episode up at Aberdeen. I was just going to jump on the train, wait for it to get to Aberdeen, start the episode heading south. But when I jumped on the train, it came along here, and instead of staying on this platform, there is a crossover here. So the Aberdeen train actually goes through this side, and then it was crossing over and coming down here on platform 2, and then it's going back up on platform 2. Now it can switch over. The class 225s heading to London from Edinburgh and the class 390, etc. We're all sitting waiting here, but I couldn't understand why it had jumped from this platform, number 1, over to 2. I had no idea why that was an actual thing. As well, these for some reason were coming down on here. They should have just have been going straight through. That was something else that was also screwed up. So I did fix that as well. But yeah, it was all good until I added this station, this platform right here. When I added this platform, both services, London Edinburgh and London Aberdeen, so if I pick up his service here, now this one needs to go in on this side because it has to remain on this right side in order to get through Edinburgh and continue on through Aberdeen. That was fine. But for some reason the Edinburgh-London service had also tried to come down on this line, which is fine because it could get back on its actual line, but it should have been going straight through here like so. So for some reason, when I altered Doncaster Station, this train jumped over these platforms, and the Aberdeen one then came in and went back down. So it came in to the north on platform 2, and it went down south on platform 2. So it was really strange. I don't know why a station, it's not even the next station up, it's the station after that. It's not even York Station, it's Doncaster Station that changed up those trains for no reason at all. That's why the ability to lock trains, so you used to be able to go into here, you would go into manage line, and at the station there, no filter, which is fine. I don't know why you would need a filter. I don't know why you would want a passenger train not to pick up, but you used to be able to click on these and there would be a little padlock in Transport Fever 1 and you could lock it. So it was assigned locked. It could not be changed again no matter what you did. It would be assigned to a platform, and that was it. End of story. There's no way that the game could change that unless you deleted the actual platform, and then you would get the exclamation mark of death up here saying, hey, you've deleted this platform or station. A train was assigned and locked to a platform on that station, and now the line is broken, which is fine. And you'd be like, oh, okay, right, I need to fix that. That's something that was actually a thing. But now it just sort of throws trains on random platforms when you're dealing with other stuff around the map. Even though both those trains go through Doncaster, their standard set lines should never have been changed because nothing was done to actually affect that route. That route, those platforms still existed. They didn't change in any way. The only thing was a new platform got added or extended onto York and Doncaster. So I don't know. It's something that they need to fix, because if you're not super eagle-eyed, then trains can go AWOL, or you could have severe line problems. Obviously this does show up after a while if two trains meet head to head, but there are sometimes times when trains block each other but doesn't come up in here, and it just stays like that forevermore until you happen to pass by the map, and then you sort of see like 16 trains queued up here, and it's like, why are these guys all stuck here? And then you realise that two trains that have screwed up, even though they were working fine before, maybe because you've upgraded a station or changed a route somewhere, have changed this route as well. So I'd love to be, in the next patch, the ability to lock platforms. It was a great feature that was added to Transport Fever 1. It should never have been taken out of Transport Fever 2. It should have been one of those, right, this worked really well, in the future we should absolutely add it. Now I don't know why they didn't do that, but it is really annoying. The fix for it was to go into manage the line and change this up to go in on line 1, which it was happy to do. I then went down. It didn't change up anything to the south, it didn't change up anything to the north. We added platform 1, and then the train just went back on its usual route. And that would have been great, except from that's not what the train actually did. So for some reason, the train came out here. So it was heading to Newcastle. I noticed that the line was defunct because it was trying to head into platform 2 and then set to go into platform 1. The train then bypassed Newcastle, still saying in here, so heading for Newcastle. So even though the train was heading up towards Berwick-upon-Tweed in Edinburgh, it still said, I'm trying to get to Newcastle. It then went up here. It then proceeded to go left and then through this platform. At that point I was like, where are you actually going? Now this is the Class 43 LNER, the service that goes between Aberdeen and London. And it got to about here, and then it pushed off, and then I was like, where are you going? There is no way in hell, there's no way possible that you can get into platform 1 on Newcastle on this route that you are following. So when curiosity got the better of me, I was like, maybe there is. Maybe there is a way for the train at some point. Maybe it'll go in a loop all the way down to London, and there maybe is some way that it can get onto platform 1. At one point I thought it was going to come along here, go into Glasgow and then just head back. But I thought it may have stopped at Edinburgh and just headed back, which would have been a disaster as well, because it probably would have headed down the line in the wrong direction. But it didn't. It continued. It went round. At one point I thought I should have recorded this, because this has everything. This has London, Edinburgh, all the way around, and then it's going to go into Newcastle and head up to Aberdeen. At some point I thought I might try and head down here, but there's no way onto platform 1 from this route, so it continued down. It then went all the way down round here. It went through Wigan and then headed left down here. It then continued left and then went round this way. So I passed through and I was like, maybe there is. Maybe I've connected the lines at the other end of York and it can jump back on its service. And then I saw not this train, but the Class 390 Azuma at this platform waiting. And then I saw it run into this platform. Now this train left and this train left. And I thought, well, if at some point this train, the Class 43 that was on here, will never be able to get on there because there's no signal. This train would stop if it was trying to get onto this line to let this one move ahead, but it didn't. And then I realised, yes, there is actually no way for this train on this line to get over here. So then what it did is it went in platform 5, where there was a ridiculous amount of people actually waiting for it, even though it was assigned to platform 1. It went in platform 5 and then it said, well, I went to get to Edinburgh. So it then went all the way back. And the exact same route, it came down. Problem. It can get to Edinburgh, but it can't get to the platform here that it needs to get to. Actually, it didn't go to Edinburgh, it went to Berwick-upon-Tweed. So it then went round back here, into there, on the wrong side, which it actually was unopposed. There happened to be no trains there at the time. It jumped in at Berwick-upon-Tweed, and then it headed to Edinburgh, and then it went to Aberdeen. And I was absolutely just totally baffled, confused beyond words. I was like, why is the AI planning that as a route? Now I could have stopped it. I could have waited for the train to pass Newcastle and think, well, it didn't stop at Newcastle and it's still trying to get to Newcastle, so I could have just jumped into the train and clicked to go to the next station, and it would have just have stopped at Berwick-upon-Tweed and then went on to Edinburgh and continued on its way. But it managed to get around here to the other side of the map, down at Carlisle. It was actually on the wrong side between Carlisle and Wigan. It was unopposed because there was no traffic luckily, which was really weird because there's always trains in this section. And it managed to get down to Manchester, where it popped onto the right side of the track and then all the way back round. So I don't know why this is a thing. It's extremely baffling. Let me know in the comments if this has ever happened to you. It's happened to me several times, and it's often something that I don't notice until it becomes a severe problem in here, and then many things are sort of screwed up, which is really annoying. Now if there was a Concord in here, I was going to jump on one. One is taking off. It's going to Oban. Yeah, we'll jump on the Pepsi Max. Oh, yeah, thank God for extremely short takeoff distance, because you would have absolutely have destroyed that United and then probably hurtled through to King's Cross or Houston. Ooh, this is actually really weird. I actually hate being in the first person on the planes when they're doing these hard banked turns. Now this will get over to the other side. I want to see what 800 miles per hour looks like in first person mode. Now this is doing 327 miles per hour. I've got it set at 3 times speed. However, I think the game has done that thing as well, where 3 times speed is no longer a thing. I thought it was just my system that did that, but apparently I've read on the forums that lots of people late game no longer have the ability to go at 2 times or 3 times speed. They often say that they've clicked on it or pushed tab, and the game still proceeds at single speed. Now, I wasn't sure if that was a feature or a bug. It seems to be a bug. It could have been a feature because late game vehicles travel so fast, like well above 100 miles per hour, that you may not need to go at 3 times speed. I mean, this one is doing 800. And is it actually going at 3 times speed? We could slow it down. Yeah, it's definitely going faster. Not by much. Right, now there is another plane in front of us, so we've caught up on the 747, the British Airways 747 that heads up here. Now it's in its descent, so we are not going to be able to land. I'd love to be able to land. Now this plane does actually go faster on the way back. It'd be interesting to see what that actually looks like. I'm also super scared that this is going to crash the game, being in first person this far off the map and landing at this airport. We've got that weird sun ray effect as well. Right, so you're going to have to do a go around because there's no way that this 747 is going to clear. Okay. The 747 just disappeared into the ether. It's in the upside down. We're currently in the upside down. Although we do have the clouds as a reference. There's the map. So you need to turn and go round. Now that other runway is quite short. So I think the 747 should have cleared by now. Oh no, it's almost clear. It will be clear. Right, you turn right, get off the runway. Ooh, it's disappeared. Right, now you turn right and head towards the runway, where the entire runway is now disappeared. It's a ghost airport. So I'm actually quite proud, because I feel unique. Because I currently believe that I am the only person that is doing Transport Fever 2 episodes with an off-world ghost airport. If someone else is doing the ghost airport, let me know. Because it'd be interesting to watch their series as well and see how this... Oh, it's completely gone. Oh, 100 and... Are you doing a go-around? No. The 747 is cleared. Okay. I'll end the recording here and we'll come back when this plane is actually ready to take off. So here we are, we're back. And we are at Ghost Airport. Now there's the 747 way in the distance. As you can see, it's not very high up. This airport is set at 1,000 feet above sea level. So it is actually floating in the air. And I noticed with the 747, when it took off, it only had to climb for a few seconds and then it was at height, and then it does its turn and it heads off down to London. So I think that's why these aircraft on the way back from the off-world airports, they're a lot faster because they don't have that sharp climb at the start. They literally go up for a few seconds and then they turn and then they're off. So that's kind of cool as well, because it at least gives us, right, the chance for our Concord to get up to speed. I don't see the other Concord anywhere. It should be there, and the 747 is now out of sight. Whether we catch up to that or no, right, I don't know where the front of the plane is. I've got no reference. Hello? Oh, there's God. Where is... Ah, there's the runway. Ah, okay, so it's this way. We're going this way, I think. It's doing 20 miles per hour, which seems slow. Now it's doing 5, 4, 3, and now it's speeding up again. But there's no reference here, so you can't actually tell that you're moving. Now we can. Right, so there it is. There's its takeoff, and now it's at height. And then it just simply turns, and then goes on its merry way. Or it should turn. Should be turning now. Hello? There we go. Yeah, so it's got a very little sort of climb. And I believe that's how they're getting up to speed so quickly. And now it turns. Now we are heading in the direction of the map. We obviously can't see the map. Can we see the ghost runway? Yeah. I see the other Concord there coming in for landing. And there the map is coming back into phase. We're already doing 400 and, well, 500 miles per hour. So it's cool. We get to jump on the fastest vehicle in the game. Now, does this actually... I think this gets up to like 900 or something, and it actually starts slowing down over like Glasgow. There we go. We're back into the realm of the real world. There we go. Oh, where's your co-pilot? And he's like passed out in the cockpit there. So 800. I mean, if I set this to go to the airport, the one, yeah, it's slowing down now. Yeah, it slows down at Glasgow. So maybe if I set a Concord to go from the northwest airport that we just left all the way down to the southeast airport, it might continue at speed over here. I don't know though. I don't know how fast it would actually get. It would probably start slowing down just roughly past Glasgow. There are a lot of aircraft. There seem to be quite a few circling. Definitely, I think that's that United again. This one is attempting to come into land, but it's probably not going to be able to. However, the 747 is in front of us. But it looks as though it is done a go around. Yeah, there's a lot of planes here. This would be super dangerous if this wasn't a video game. Wait, you're not even attempting to land at Heathrow. Or you are. You are in the holding pattern. There are probably many aircraft in front of you. There's Hull. There's one of our Hull trains. There's the Newcastle airport, which is kind of cool. I might add some like DC-3s and DC-4s or something, some vintage aircraft, and just maybe throw them on a route somewhere. Since it is that old school sort of Art Deco airport, which is really nice. Right, there's no way you're going to be able to land, because I think this guy needs to land before you. This plane is taking off. There's another plane taking off. The problem is as well, if something crosses from the right side at the sort of main terminal, or the one that was built first, if it crosses the runway as something is coming into land, it won't land. Yeah, so that British Airways is going in now. I mean, if you could add 2 landing runways, that would be awesome. Yeah, so you're sort of dipping down and then you're going to hang a right, but you're going to have to perform a go around because this A320 is not going to be clear. In fact, it's not going to be able to land because there's another plane. It made it. The 747 has at least loaded up on passengers though. So we need this one in front of us to clear the runway, and it's going to be too slow. Too slow, too slow, too slow. Yep. There we go, there's the go around. But yep, we shall leave it there for that episode. I do apologise for prattling on about that London Northeastern Railways, but it's such a weird thing that happens in the game, and it is frustrating when trains just jump platforms, take a mind of their own. I've seen it many times now. So, Urban Games, if you're watching, platform lock. Please, it's a must. It's a must-have. But yeah, we'll leave it there for that episode. We will be back building new lines in the next next episode. At least we got to jump on the Pepsi Concord and managed to get up to about 900 miles per hour. But yeah, I think I'm going to do an experiment and stick one from the far side of the map right across. I think that would be kind of cool. This plane can actually land now, which is good. But yeah, we'll leave it there for that episode. As always, if you did watch this, then leave a like, comment or dislike if you wish to do so. And if there's more you would like to see in the future, then hit the subscribe button. Also, if you've had that problem with the trains jumping platforms and you find it as frustrating as me, leave a comment. Let me know if it happens to you also on a regular basis. Or even if you know a way to combat it. If there is a platform lock mod, I would love to hear about it. But yeah, that's been it for me. This has been Transport Fever 2 on the UK map, and I will catch you later.